Welcome to Coffee with Viking. I am Mike. Cheers. Jerusalem falls. The Babylonians burned Jerusalem, including the palace, and tore down the walls of the city. And that's Jeremiah 39:8. Jeremiah is the only known prophet on record to witness the final destruction of Jerusalem, the last act of erasing the Jewish nation off the world map. Jeremiah describes it briefly in chapter 39 and again in chapter 52. But the Bible's detailed description waits for the book of Lamentations, an anonymous book that ancient Jewish tradition says Jeremiah wrote. After Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar dethrones 18-year-old King Jehoiachin, he replaces him with 21-year-old Zedekiah, a Jew who promises to pay taxes to Babylon. That's in 597 BC. But less than a decade later, a rebellion breaks out in Babylon. Zedekiah figures that Babylon has its hands full with his distraction, so he declares Judah's independence and stops sending tax money to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar arrives at Jerusalem on January 15th, 588 BC. Several date references in Jeremiah can be cross-checked with dates on Babylonian documents, allowing scholars to convert the dates to the modern calendar. The Babylonian army surrounds the city so no one can come or go. Then they begin the tedious work of breaking through Jerusalem's thick stone walls. One common technique is to tunnel under the wall and then collapse the tunnel, with the ground suddenly falling away. Sometimes the stone wall above will drop into the hole, creating a break in the wall. The siege lasts 2.5 years. Lamentations describes Jerusalem's suffering in heartbreaking detail. On July 18th, 586 BC, part of the wall collapses. King Zedekiah waits for the cover of night. Then he abandons his people instead of surrendering as Jeremiah had advised, or fighting as he must have promised his citizens he would do. He runs for his life, and he takes with him what's left of his army. His army scatters, but Zedekiah heads for food and water in the oasis town of Jericho, 20 miles north. That's where the Babylonians catch up with him. Nebuchadnezzar has a special punishment for this hand-picked king of his. Zedekiah gets his eyes gouged out, put only after watching his sons and palace advisors slaughtered. Zedekiah will spend the rest of his cursed life in a Babylonian prison. In August, Babylonians begin the job of burning and then dismantling Jerusalem, stone by stone, temple, palace, houses, walls. Most Jerusalem survivors, 832 of them, are taken captive to Babylon. Some of the poorest are left to tend the vineyards and fields. Jeremiah is freed because he had advised Zedekiah to surrender. He decides to stay in the homeland, but he doesn't stay long. Nebuchadnezzar appoints a governor to rule the area, but within a few years, no more than 4 Jewish guerrillas assassinate him. Then they flee to Egypt, fearing retaliation. In fact, That retaliation comes in 582 BC. Babylon takes 745 more captives than Jews who flee to Egypt force Jeremiah and Baruch to go with them. It's in Egypt that Jeremiah delivers his last known prophecy. He warns his fellow Jews that Nebuchadnezzar will follow them and destroy the land of Egypt. And that says it's in Jeremiah 43:11. Jeremiah 43:11. And when he cometh, he shall smite the land of Egypt and deliver such as are for death to death, and such as are for captivity to captivity, and such as are for the sword to the sword. The invasion takes place in about 568 BC. And here in the side note, weeping for the exiles. Women grieve over Jews deported from Babylon's apparent staging ground. For captives, Ramah, a city north of Jerusalem, Jeremiah prophesied, a cry is heard in Ramah, deep anguish and bitter weeping. Rachel weeps for her children, refusing to be comforted, for her children are gone. Rachel was the wife of Israel's founding father Jacob. His dozen sons produced descendants who, because the 12 tribes of Israel, Rachel's crown of thorns points to what a New Testament writer considered another fulfillment of the prophecy in the distant future. Grief over Bethlehem, baby slaughtered by King Herod in his attempt to kill Jesus. Jeremiah 31:15. Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. There's a picture of her weeping. Stay blessed. Stay caffeinated. Much love.